Hi everyone, Raquel here from scrapcosy. Today I'll share with you the make and take that I prepared for Stevenage and for crafting at Ali Pali. In this one we will be using my stamps and stencils, infusions and distress oxides. Let's get started. As you can see there are 3 models, so we will do all of them. First we are going to start with the rose. We are going to start with the first layer of infusions, which will be faded afterwards. First, I'm going to apply like a C with one color, and then I will fill the center of that C with another color. I spritz some water, and then with some paper towel, I will just dry it. I'm just repeating exactly the same that I did in the make and take. In the make and takes, we didn't have any heat tool, so the way to dry things is with paper towels. Next, I'm going to start with oxides. I'm doing 3 stripes with 3 colors. I'm spritzing some water to activate the ink, and then I'm putting my tag down to make sure that I get a uniform layer. If at this point you see that not everything is covered, don't you worry, because later we can fix that. If you see, I just used 3 of the 4 colors. The other one I will save it for later. I'm drying my ink with a paper towel because again I don't have a heat tool. If you had a heat tool, the effect would be much brighter. And now I'm touching again with the ink on other places. Because distress oxides are opaque, I can get coverage and not matte when I apply these splashes between dry layers. Now I'm making the ink react with a little bit of water, and I'm leaving it aside for a second. So then it reacts, and then I'm blotting the excess. With that, what I'm getting are white spots, which are like a bleach effect, because that's what water does with oxides. It acts like a bleach. Now I'm applying a bit more ink on those places that I think I need a little bit more. So if at that point you didn't have an area fully covered, then you can use a sponge dauber or whatever you have to extend that ink on top of your tag and cover its surface. Again, I'm making the ink react a little bit more with water, and I'm drying it out. If you had a heat tool, the effect would be better, but as I'm saying, we are only using paper towels in this project. Now I'm selecting the 4th ink, and I'm adding some stenciling. I'm using the brickwork to create a wall on the left, on the bottom, and you will see also on the top, to kind of frame my tag. And I will also use the words "the rose" to put like a title. Using oxides through the stencil is very easy and you get very nice results. You just need to apply it in circular motion and you get a pretty bold image. Now I'm going to stamp, and I'm using black VersaFine ink to stamp my images. I'm starting with the rose, and then what I will do with the text is apply it exactly where my stenciled area is, and that will create a very nice frame for my tag. Once all the stamping is done, I'm going to color, and I'm going to use infusions, the same 2 colors that we used before, with glaze. So I'm applying just a little bit of infusions on each side of the glaze, and then I will mix half of the drop of the glaze with one color, then I'll color the image, and then I'll swap color and continue with the rest. So here I started with Sunset Beach, and then I'm coloring the rose. And I will use the green slime for the leaves. I'll include all the colors in my blog and also in the description below of the video, so then you have them. So I used slime, Sunset Beach, and then of distress oxides I used fire brick, broken china, twisted citron and wild honey. Now we are going to do the second card. This is the one with the mushroom. I think at Stevenage everybody wanted to do the mushroom one. I know they like it very much. In this case I'm using two other distress colors, olive tree and golden sands. So golden sands will be in the middle and olive tree will be creating that sea. Then I'm going to spray it with water and dry again with a paper towel. You can use infusions in many other ways. Here we are just using it to spritz water to create that background which will be faded in the back, and then to color as you've seen with the glaze. But there are many other things that you can do. Now I'm selecting the three colors of Distress Oxide and I'm spritzing some water to activate them until I see droplets, and then I'm applying the tag on top to get a more or less uniform layer. And dry again with a paper towel. Here I'm using ice spruced, fossilized amber and peel paint. My fourth Distress Oxide, which I keep for later, is walnut stain. Once everything is dry, then I can go on and try to add some splashes of color here and there. Since Distress Oxides are opaque, I can perfectly do that, and I can apply, for instance, some drops of yellow in the green surface, and they will be seen. Now I'm making the ink react with water, and I'm drying in between layers. And once I'm more or less happy with that initial background, I'll clean my surface and then I will apply a little bit more ink on the edges. This is both to define my borders and also to add a little bit more color if I want to. And again, since these are opaque, you can actually cover with yellow a part that was actually first green or that was blue, and it will be covered. With the original Distress, you cannot do that because they are not opaque. They are a dye, so you will not be covering perfectly the back. You will be just mixing and adding it to your mix. Now I'm making it react a little bit more with water. You could always repeat these steps once and again, but well, I have to stop here. So I'm drying it. And then the next step is stenciling. Now I'm using the walnut stain through the stencil, again with circular motion. And in this case, what I will apply to top, bottom and left corner will be that honeycomb, which again you can reposition to create a background as big as you need it. And then I will be choosing the word autumn, which I will use as a title. At Stevenage, I was using the different words because I was doing all the time mushrooms, so I was doing autumn or found or postcard. All of them looked very nice. But for this one I'm just applying autumn. Here you need to be very careful because if you activate the ink, you may distress a little bit more the image stenciled. So here I'm just making sure that my autumn becomes a bit more popped out, so I'm just reapplying it. And then the next step is stamping. I'm stamping the small mushroom from the two that I had in the middle of the tag in the area that was a bit lighter. When I chose my Distress Oxides, I decided to put the stripe lighter in the middle because I knew that I would be stamping on top of it. This is because my infusions are translucent, and if I choose a dark color of oxides when I stamp on top, if I want to color with our mix of glaze and infusions, it will not cover my image. It will cover it, but actually you will not be able to see what color you're using because they are translucent, not opaque. Does that make sense? And now with the branches I'm going to again apply it kind of on top of the stencil part, so then I'm using this to frame it a little bit more. And those are the images that I'm going to color. Again with infusions and some glaze. So a little bit of infusions on each side, drop in the middle, very little, and then mix. Mix thoroughly because I want my walnut to dissolve. And once my mix is homogeneous, then I have a translucent paint and I can color my images. Infusions is a dye in powder, and it also incorporates walnut crystals. The powders, the color, they dissolve at a different rate than the walnut. So if you sprinkle some, as we've done in the first steps, and then you spritz with water, the color explodes very quickly and the walnut takes a little bit longer. So by playing with the amount of infusions and the amount of water that you put, as well as the amount of time that you leave them react and how you dry them, you can achieve very different results. I've done lots of experiments with infusions and different mediums, so if you're curious, just go to my YouTube list, which is called All About Infusions, and you can see how I use them in very different ways. With water, with glaze, with alcohol, with grunge paste. There are so many possibilities that really you cannot imagine. They are so much fun. Okay, we're done. So this is the second tag. I believe this is not exactly the same tag as in the video, but well, is one of the ones that I made using the same technique, so you can have the idea and you can see the different layers that we've created on it. This next tag is the Halloween one. For this one I will be using Violetta, and I will do that C, so I'm adding infusions on top, left and bottom, and then I will be applying Rustic R, which is the orange, just in the middle. And as I did before, I will spritz some water on top to activate them. You can see, wow, those colors coming up. I really like this color combination. Now I'm going to dry it with a paper towel. Now it's soft. If you, instead of using paper towel, you used a heat tool, you would maintain the vibrancy of the color that you saw at the moment of spritzing with water. But now we get a softer version. Now I'm going to apply Wilted Violet, Spiced Marmalade and Faded Jeans on top of my craft sheet, 3 lines as you remember, spritz some water to activate, and then just dry it a little bit with the napkin. And also I'm using some water to make it react. Once my first layer is a bit dry, I can move on to my craft sheet and pick some of those splashes into my card and get a little bit more interesting background using those opaque properties of the distress oxides. And if you're using different oxides, you will realize that some of them react a bit different with water than others. In some of them, the water really makes this bleach effect or this oxide effect, but others take a bit longer and are more subtle. I guess it depends on the color. I'm making it react a bit more, and then I will apply some ink on the edges. Here I forgot to say that when I'm using this spritzer, I'm not pressing all the way down. If I press all the way down very quickly, I get a mist. But if I press very little by little, what I get are splashes. And this is what I want, droplets, that they actually hit my tag and they produce those puddles that then when I dry, they remove some of that color, creating that bleachy effect. So can you see that now? When I apply the napkin, you will see that the water that I take out are droplets. Can you see that? And then underneath, it's a very interesting background. Now I'm going to stencil, and I'm using the 4th color of this dress. This one is Black Soot, and I will apply it for the branches, which I will apply on the bottom, left and top as before. And then I'll use it also for my title, which this time is going to be Spooky Bones. You could use any other words from this stencil. There were some people who were putting Halloween, for instance, on the side of the tag, and it looked very nice. As you can see, we are repeating the same techniques with different stamps, different stencils and different colors to achieve 3 very different tags for different occasions. I'm putting here Spooky Bones, which is my title this time, and a little bat. And once all the stenciling is done, what I'm going to do is stamping. And I will be using my pumpkin and some VersaFine ink in black. In this case, my image will only be colored with one color, so that's the only difference between the 3 tags, that I will be using only one infusions color this time. And again, I'm overlapping my stenciling part with another background stamp from the set, in this case the branches. And I find that combining these 2 branches gives a very nice effect. I really like how they combine together. I remember one of the ladies that came for the make and take was saying, "Oh, these match so well." And I said, okay, yeah, well, they're meant to be like that and to be used like that, so I was very happy that she could appreciate that. So when I do a stencil and I do a stamp set, I try to kind of match them so they can be used in conjunction to create nice projects. So here I'm just selecting rustic car with glaze, mixing it very well to get my walnut dissolved, and then I'll paint the pumpkin. When you create your mix, it's better that you put very little infusions and then you keep on adding more and more if you think it's needed more, or you add a second layer when you paint your image. Because if you put too much infusions, then it's impossible to remove it. So it's better the other way. Be stingy with it and you will get very nice results. Okay, last tag finished. So that was all for today. I hope you liked this make and take that I prepared and that I'm bringing you now in a video so you can make it at home if you want. These were the 3 tags. I hope you liked them. If you liked my videos and you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it, and I would also really appreciate a thumbs up. This is the way to tell me that you really like them and that you want to see more. See you in the next one, and thanks for watching. Bye!